Hi, welcome back to the channel. I'm Beyond Joe, and today a slightly different video for you. So no hunting in CXs today, no tours of museums, and not a pickups video as such. But instead, what I wanted to do is to let you know a little bit more about me, share a bit about my history with games. So a lot of people on YouTube, a lot of videos I've watched are top 10s, like my top 10 this, my top 10 that. And when I'm streaming, I often get asked, what's your favorite game? And things like this. I've always found that a really hard question to answer because so many games I adore for many different reasons, and games touch on so many different genres, and I can't nail down my favorite game. I just can't. And I wonder if some of you would agree with that. There are a lot of games that I love for different reasons, and I love playing different games when I'm in different moods. So what I wanted to do, instead of a top 10, and this isn't even 10, this is just some games that really impacted me and my life. Things that maybe changed how I saw games, or really changed how I played. Things that just memories in my life, places, games that pinpoint times in my life. I think I've explained that. So yeah, games that meant a lot to me, and why. So yeah, I'm going to jump right into it. So these are in no way in timeline order. Just bear that in mind. We're going to be jumping back and forth through my life. But one game that really sticks in my memory, and it's one that I played with my dad an awful lot growing up. We didn't play a huge amount of games together. He wasn't really a gamer. But one game that we played a lot together was World of Illusion with Donald Duck and Mickey Mouse. If you know, you know, okay? So this game is, in my opinion, absolutely fantastic. It was for the Mega Drive. It was a very simple, very basic platform game. It was made to be played with two people. So one of you played as Mickey, one of you played as Donald. It had a element of the game where you could harm the other player, so you wouldn't cause them to lose life, but what you'd cause them to is like freeze up, and that could be super useful sometimes because you could jump on their head and get to other areas. And it was nice that you couldn't like hurt them, but at the same time could frustrate them. We definitely did that a lot to each other, and there was the ability to you had to work together to get through certain parts. That I remember, is it called a rickshaw on a train track, and one of you had to jump on one side and then the other, and there was a couple of scenarios like that. I think we had to do that in the game, and it really created teamwork within video games for me. And I, at this point, this is one of the very first games I ever played. It was the Mega Drive that I'd got for a Christmas present, I believe, and prior to that I'd really only played Super Nintendo at my uncle's house. I have played it recently with my wife, actually. It was one of the games that she could actually play, and we enjoyed playing it together. Loads of really cool characters, fun boss fights, and the part underwater with the sharks, musically, and it was like a pirate ship. It used to scare the chuff out of me as a kid. So yeah, I could talk about this game forever. Please check out World of Illusion. And the other thing I will say is this was a sequel to Castle of Illusion, so that was the first one I played. Castle of Illusion was a single player game, and that was actually remade. Again, it feels like just yesterday, but it was quite a while ago. That was remade for the PlayStation 3, I believe. So you can check that out if you wanted to, in HD graphics. But yeah, one of those Disney games for the Mega Drive that will go down in history as one of my all-time favorites. So as I sort of said with this list, there's no rhyme or reason to timing, but it's no surprise that Pokemon Red, for anyone who knows me, would be on my list. I wasn't sure if I should pick Pokemon Red or Pokemon Yellow, because Pokemon Yellow is definitely the game that I played the most, but Pokemon Red was the one that absolutely changed my mind on everything. So I was really lucky. I was very fortunate to have a very caring grandmother, and what she did is she took me and my sister out, and she treated us to an Easter gift. I think she'd had a windfall, she'd won some money in the lottery or something, and she wanted to treat us. So I'd had the original Game Boy, the grey Game Boy, and she was like, you can get something, and we were in Woolworths. Rest in peace, Woolworths, I miss you, you're amazing. And it had just come out, Pokemon Red, and I remember it was only just just had been released, and I knew that I wanted that, but then I saw this with it, and the lime green Game Boy Color. This is my childhood in a box, and this is my original one. This has actually got the original Game Boy in it, which was half eaten by my dog. It still works. And so this is like a double pack for me. So the Game Boy Color with Pokemon Red, and I'd never really played an RPG before, and playing Pokemon Red was like nothing I'd ever experienced. I loved the monsters. I loved trying to find all the secrets, trying to catch them all. It was the game that we would play in the playground. I had a really good friend growing up, a guy called Thomas. I don't think you'll ever see this video, Thomas. But if you do, just know that those memories are really, really special to me. So he had Pokemon Blue. I had Pokemon Red. We used to trade our monsters. We used to fight. We used to battle them. We also used to battle Digimon, me and him. So this is just such a good memory. And it was the start of me of a huge love for the Pokemon franchise. And I still love it to this day. Yes, it hasn't really caught up with the times. Yes, it needs an update really for adults. I wish they could just bring out an adult game, but I understand it's not. But we grew up with this. They need Pokemon Company. Please think about us. Let's see what ZA brings. It's obviously a game I'm going to get on release. But yeah, I went through the Pokemon Red manual like it was my Bible. I remember taking it to school in my pencil case and just reading through it. And I had official Nintendo magazine, and I remember them talking about Pokemon. It was this new game from Japan, and there was little monsters that you caught. And I'll actually drop in the trailer, because the trailer for this game that aired on UK TV is one of the most memorable trailers that has stuck in my mind like nothing else.
Hey, little buddy, want to ride?
Pikachu!
Yeah, whatever. I'll be right back.
Where can you catch all 150 Pokemon?
Yeah.
On your Game Boy, that's where. Pokemon for Game Boy is here. With both packs, you can catch them all. Games and systems sold separately.
And I mean, what a trailer, right? All the Pokemon. It's funny looking back on it now because I know all those Pokemon, but at the time, each one was a mystery. It was like, oh, who's this? Who's that? You didn't know who Charizard was. You didn't know who Dragonite was. You didn't know any of these guys. Hitmonlee. But it's just such a magical time to be a kid. Pokemon Red is a game that I'll remember forever. And yeah, I get a bit emotional thinking about it because without it, I don't know where I'd be. I know that sounds daft, it's just a stupid game, but I remember a little anecdote here. So my mum used to tell me, or she told me not that long ago actually, she told my wife, I believe at my wedding, that there'd be times where I'd go to the toilet and maybe an hour and a half would pass, and my mum would be wondering if everything was okay. And every now and again she'd hear a thud, sort of like an hour later, a big bang upstairs. She'd come running up, where I banging on the door, you okay, you okay? And I'd be playing while sat on the toilet for so long that my legs stopped working, and I'd get up to get off the toilet and I would just fall forward and hit the ground. Yeah, don't know if that's something to be proud of, but Pokemon Red, yeah, thanks Pokemon Company, you were amazing. Now, Resident Evil, what a franchise. This is a franchise that really got me into horror, both movies as well. I don't think I would have been into horror movies like I am without Resident Evil. And another reason why Resident Evil was special to me is because it was a game that I, to begin with, never played. It's a game that I watched being played, and not the GameCube version. This is the version that I eventually picked up when I was old enough to play Resident Evil. So I wasn't lucky enough to play the PlayStation 1 version, but I watched my uncle play it. And my uncle was only 3 years older than me, and yeah, I loved him to death. We don't have a great relationship now, which is sad. But yeah, Resident Evil, I remember they used to play it. So my uncle and his best friend would play it, and I would sit on the bed watching, and it would be a case of they would know where the scares are coming, and they would like try and scare me. So I remember the point of when the dogs burst through the windows. Obviously everyone knows about that. It's a super common people bring it up all the time when discussing the first Resident Evil, and to watch that as a little kid, it just scared the bejeebers out of me. Absolutely scared the chuff out of me. And it was just such a cool game. And I remember thinking, oh, you have to be a cool kid to be able to play Resident Evil, which is obviously daft. It's a silly thing to say, but it is now one of the franchises that I hold so dear, and not just because of those memories, but because Capcom did something really special, I think. Not including maybe Resident Evil 6. It's the one game in the franchise that I've not finished. But every other game in the franchise, I still love where it's going with Village. I still play it to this day. And as a kid, watching my uncle play Resident Evil over his shoulder is just a core memory to me. And yeah, a game that is super special. And if you haven't played the Resident Evil remake, I really recommend it. It's an absolutely fantastic remake. I believe that's the one that you can now get on PSN and PlayStation, etc. The original was also great, especially with the graphics and stuff. And I am a tank controls fan. I loved the tank controls. I thought it added to the tension of the game, and I loved the corny dialogue because I loved cheesy horror films. So yeah, really good one, Resident Evil. Surprise. Yeah, how can anyone talk about a game, games that changed them, games that they obsessed over, games that they loved to death, without including Super Mario 64? My mum and dad got me my Nintendo 64, and I was the N64 Christmas kid. I loved Mario, again, from watching my uncle play it on the Super Nintendo. To have a Nintendo 64, and I got this Mario Kart, I believe, when I got my Nintendo 64. And I've never played a game as much as I played this, and I was obsessed with this game. I think we all were, right? Who wasn't obsessed with Mario 64? This isn't one that I got to share with people, really. I did watch my uncle play this one. He had a Nintendo 64, but it was, for me, it was a game that I could get lost in, a game that I could obsess over. I had when I was a kid, I would be the kid having the Mario Party. I mean, I'll show you this bit of footage I found.
No, very careful. It's very dangerous. No, I'm making. Oh, there is one working. Well, no, it might say. Look, it's Cat Mario. Look, Mario. Oh, it's a bit windy here. Look, Mario. Is that what it is, Joseph? You know, don't you? Look, Mario. Look, Mario. Yes, not. You better blow it out, I think, so. Well, they all go.
Oh, it trickles.
So this game is the game that got me into 3D platformers. It's the game that made me understand 3D controls. It's the game that made me obsess over my Nintendo 64. And that was the entry to Banjo, to just 3D platformers in general. And I still love 3D platformers collectathons. I've just finished DK Bonanza. What a game. Like, if you haven't played it, it is a reason to buy the Switch 2. I think it's just phenomenal. And I don't think that game would exist without Mario 64. And for me, it really cemented my love for Nintendo, my love for my Nintendo 64. And the games for the Nintendo 64 were few and far between for me. They were really expensive, and so I really treasured each and every one, and I tried to get everything I could out of it. And it's one of the games that I never actually 100%ed till I was an adult. It's one game I just, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because I didn't know how to, I didn't understand it, but as an adult I get it, and I love it. So yeah, Super Mario 64. How can I talk about the games that truly affected me without mentioning Sonic the Hedgehog?
Once you start playing Sonic the Hedgehog, everything else seems a little bit slow. Don't worry, I'll catch him.
As an adult, maybe it's not one of the games that I go back to as much as I should, but mainly because it was a game and a game franchise I obsessed over as a child. Again, I'll throw in some footage of my bedroom, and if you look around, I had a Sonic headboard, Sonic curtains. I had little Sonic decals around the room. The room was painted blue and yellow to be like Supersonic.
What are you doing, Zoe? Playing a game. Playing a game. And they'll be on it for hours, Grandma. And I'd like to read down. It's wicked. The same as this little kid. When you bought me.
Snowball Kids.
Yeah, for the moment. Oh,
I had Sonic the Comics. To be able to play the game, it was just phenomenal to me, and that's why my parents did go the route of the Mega Drive. So although I'd played a lot of Super Nintendo at my uncle's house, I ended up with a Mega Drive that he didn't have, and that was for Sonic. Because this Blue Blur, man, it was hard. Growing up, I never actually finished Sonic. I was never good enough. I was never a great gamer. And this is my copy growing up. It's missing the manual, but I'm never going to change it. There's no game, in my opinion, like Sonic the Hedgehog. And again, that's for the time. Looking back on it, playing it now, yeah, there's Sonic 2 is so much better. Sonic 3 is worlds better. But Sonic 1 was the game that I obsessed over. I played time and time again. And yeah, it completely changed my perception of video games. It was my console, my game, a game that I could love. Me and my friends, we used to run around playing as Sonic characters. We had a club called the Knuckles Club in primary school, and we would run around with our little knuckles pointed out, and we'd pretend to be Sonic. And yeah, the whole franchise really, Sonic 1, 2 and 3 were absolutely instrumental to my video game childhood. I know that I'm really lucky to be talking about all these games and to have been playing these games growing up. I fully understand how privileged that makes me, and I am fully grateful to my mum, to my grandparents, to everyone, my dad, who helped me to be a gamer. And yeah, without you guys, who knows what would be today. I mean, maybe I'd be much richer. I mean, there's way too many video games throughout this room, way too many gaming merchandise, but it is a passion that I have had since I was a kid, and these are the games that I've shown you today that have really cemented that passion. Because great games are coming out day in, day out, yes, but it's rare nowadays for a game to really sit with me and to change how I feel about video games. I have a lot of games here, and I think I'm gonna maybe split this up. Maybe we'll do it again. And I know on the podcast, me and Stephen were talking about some of these games, because this pile is way too high, and I could just talk about this forever. But there is one game that I absolutely have to mention, and again, apologies. It's an obvious game. Final Fantasy VII. Wow. This game is instrumental in so many ways. For me, this was the evolution of Pokemon. Yeah, you weren't catching monsters, but that RPG mechanic, that's what I loved about Pokemon. It wasn't the catching, it was the RPG elements, the story, going against gym leaders, getting the Elite Four, and Final Fantasy was that on crack. It was just everything I could have ever wanted. And a funny thing about Final Fantasy VII is I nearly never played it. So I didn't play it when it came out. I remember seeing an advert for Final Fantasy on the television, and I thought that this game was like no other game I'd ever seen graphically. How does this exist? This is phenomenal. Wow, what a game. And I then went to, it was HMV in Cambridge, where I've always lived, here, give or take, a few years. And I went into the store, and we all know that Final Fantasy cases all look pretty similar. They just have a different number at the side. So we're talking, at this point, we were up to 8. And it was Final Fantasy 8 that I'd seen the trailer for. And I thought I'd bought Final Fantasy 8. And I didn't. I bought Final Fantasy 7. And I think it was cheaper. So that was the reason I'd picked that one up. I thought I'd picked up the game that I had seen on the TV. And that's not what I picked up. I'm so glad I didn't. I did eventually play 8. I think most people have played 8 at this point, and we all have different views on it. But 7 cemented my obsession with video games. And it was another game that there was myself, my friend Callum, and again, Tom Hayes. We played this game just non-stop. It was our obsession. We would talk constantly about how far each of us had gone. And growing up, as I've sort of talked about, I wasn't a popular kid. I didn't have a huge amount of friends. My school growing up was tiny. In my year, there was about, I think there was 4 boys in the end in my year. And they were all into football and I wasn't. I was into video games. So to find people who were like me was amazing. And our love for Final Fantasy carried on through. We played 7, we skipped 8 sort of. It wasn't one we all played together. We played 9, we played 10. And I remember 10 being the sort of the last hurrah of our little friendship. I don't really talk to those guys anymore. And it's sad. I lost touch with everyone. But that is a friendship and a collection of memories that will be with me for the rest of my life. It's a game that I've replayed a ton. I love Remake. Yes, it's very, very different, but I still have the original, so it's nice to be able to have a little bit of different of Final Fantasy 7. And yeah, I know it's one of the most popular games ever made at this point. Everyone always talks about Final Fantasy 7, but for me, it's a game like no other. Is it my favorite Final Fantasy? I don't think so, but it doesn't mean that this one wasn't the most influential, because this one was my first, and it always will be. And that was incredibly special. And I used to have that was psycho. I used to have nightmares a lot as a kid. I wouldn't go to sleep. It was a real hard time for my parents. And I remember my dad used to blame the fact that I played so much Final Fantasy on my nightmares, because he'd come in and see some of the monsters and be like, dude, like, is this why you're not sleeping? Is this messing you up? Am I gonna have to stop you playing it? And what I really do love about my dad, especially looking back, is he never stopped me playing it. He never said that it should stop. I think he knew full well my nightmares were from many other places, but Final Fantasy wasn't where it was from. Final Fantasy is what kept me going, as what I got up for. So yeah, Final Fantasy 7, what a game. If you want to hear more, check out the Beyond Worlds podcast. Me and Stephen will do an episode where we'll talk about all this stuff. I know that he had a ton of stuff he wanted to talk about. If you like this kind of video, let me know in the comments. I can do more of this. If you think this one was naff, let me know and I can do less of it. As I said, I have absolute heaps of games that I've been buying over the past few months. I was sort of getting over the pickups videos. I was worried that it was maybe felt like I was trying to show off, or I don't know. But I think maybe I'll do another pickups video soon. I've also got a pretty cool Lego set, gaming Lego set that I'd like to do that. So that might be an upcoming video. Watch this space. Please do subscribe. The channel is always growing. The channel is always changing. Obviously, it's still very early days for me, but I would really like to grow with your help. So please do let me know in those comments. It would mean a lot. Until next time, I've been Beyond Joe. I hope you liked the video, and thanks for joining me in another world.